Hello! It's been a hot minute, but here we are again with Matt and Joe's Media Overload.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Joe, and we just want to take a moment to update you on the goings-on. It's been a little while, so we thought we should tell you guys what's been going on with us.
Yeah, I think when we started this a year ago today, actually, this day, February 17th, marks the 1-year anniversary of the recording of our very first episode that you all know and love, the classic anime episode. And I think when we started this, we felt like this was going to be something that would be a little more ongoing as we did it, and we enjoyed it. It's not that we didn't enjoy it. Circumstances changed quite a bit, and we'll get into all that. But we stopped at 13 episodes, roughly about May of last year, and a lot's changed since then. Joe and I both have got new jobs. Joe has how many kids have you had since then, Joe?
5.
Joe's had 5 kids. He birthed them himself. And I have not had any kids, to my knowledge. But I don't know, Joe. Where specifically should we start? Should we talk about the night Media Overload went on hiatus?
Yes.
Because I think any of our fans who actually listened to the podcast would know that episode 13 we called Random Ramblings, and that night was quite interesting in itself. But we'll get to that later. We ended that episode by saying that we would allow fans to vote on what our next episode would be, episode 14, and our options were The Simpsons, the works of Matt Groening, or Joe's pick, Calvin and Hobbes.
Did anybody vote?
No one voted. Not one person voted.
I didn't think so.
No. But the next week, we decided we were going to do the Simpsons Matt Groening episode, and we actually made a title card. I wore a Bart Simpson mask, which is almost a year later, still just laying in Joe's floor. And we were literally sitting. We did a sound test. We were literally sitting there in our studio, which, as you can see, Joe has kept in pristine condition since.
Some Valentine's gifts.
Yeah, he bought them for himself. No one loves him. But I bought them for him, actually.
Oh.
I tried to wink, but I think both my eyes shut. So I just looked dumb. Anyway, though, that night we were all set up to record, and Joe said something, and I'll never forget it. He said, "Hey, let's go see Solo."
Oh, yeah.
So, Joe, turn the camera on and talk.
So, we went to the Opry Mills Mall.
Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah.
In Nashville. And I swear to Christ, there was, the time was like 10 or 11, something.
It was about 11, because...
It was a late-ish movie, right?
Yeah.
And so, excuse me, I got a phlegm through. So, we drive out there. It's like a 20-minute drive. Isn't that terrible?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
We still get there.
Uh-huh.
And we get up to the front and we're like, "Hey, we'd like 2 tickets to Solo, please, at 11 o'clock. And this Baba Yaga woman behind
an elderly woman.
I don't even remember her name, but she was like...
Does it fucking matter?
The only movie we're playing is... What
was it? It was
something dumb.
Yeah, Breaking In? Breaking In, maybe?
Or knocking on your neighbor's door. Some dumb fuck.
If you know what movies were in theaters the same week of Solo, let us know in the comments below.
So...
Not Deadpool 2, because we asked about it as well.
Yeah. So we get done with that, and we're walking, and a couple other dudes are there, and they're in the same boat we are. They're like, "The fuck? We wanted to see Solo."
Keep in mind, Joe checked the show times on like Fandango or whatever, and it said it would be playing a midnight showing.
And then there was like a group of, I don't know, like 12 people walking up, and Baba Yaga fucking shuts the shutters.
And turns the lights off.
Yeah, like what if they wanted to see Breaking In or whatever the fuck?
Yeah, like supposedly there was a movie playing, yet she still closed.
Yeah, so she acted like a bitch.
She either lied to us or she just was being spiteful. I don't know.
So we walked out of the mall, and I had to use the bathroom. And
instead of going when we were in the mall like a normal person, Joe waits till we get in the parking lot to decide he has to piss.
So I find where the power generator is or whatever. I didn't piss on it, but I peed on the fence.
It was like the breakers, switches, yeah.
And then I ran up and I shut that fucker down and ran back to the car and we went to Waffle House. Because fuck you. I wanted to see some Star Wars action.
Yeah. And that was, that was right around time I got out of school for the summer last year. And keep in mind, if you remember anything about, our entire...
Gator pizza.
We've had a wild couple days.
Yes.
Keep in mind, if you remember anything about our jobs before all this, I was an assistant in a special education classroom at a middle school, a local middle school. That changed at the end of the summer, but we spent the summer not doing a podcast. It seemed like there for a few weeks, every week we talked about doing one. We never did. But, it was a good summer, wasn't it, Joe? We had a lot of fun adventures. We spent a lot of time with two of Joe's oldest kids.
We did some urban exploring.
We did some urban exploration, explored some abandoned properties, found some cool things that we're planning on starting a museum. Actually, one of the coolest things we found is back in here. I feel like we're just going to keep walking.
Oh, yeah. Let's show them this.
Joe, explain what this is and what we pretend it is, I guess.
So, this is Motherfucking Fuck 3. Now, why do we call it that? There you go, man. MFF3. So we call it Motherfucking Fuck 3.
That is not blood.
That is blood.
It is?
Blood of our enemies. We were doing some exploration, and Matt happened to find this
in a
ditch. This thing has served us well.
For those of you who don't know, this actually goes on like the top of a fence post.
Yeah, it's like a fence. Yeah,
of barbed wire.
Yeah,
it's not a club.
So, but it makes a damn good one.
It is a club.
It's hard to hold. You have to be proficient.
It weighs about 20, 25 pounds.
Pretty damned heavy. So yeah, anyway, that thing served us well.
Keep it right here by the
we were able to do some things with it. Had a lot of adventures with it.
Is that really blood?
I don't know.
You said.
I mean, you found it.
That was not on it.
And I remember Matt ditched it, he ditched it in a ditch, if you will. And
literally,
and we couldn't find it, and I was like upset. I was like, "Where is it?"
Joe was talking on the phone to his girlfriend at the time.
Yeah, he threw it because a car was coming by. He threw it in a trench.
You said, "Hold on, Matt threw the fuck," and she was like, "What are you talking about?"
She was like, "Huh?" Matt threw the fuck.
I did. But yeah, we did that. We hung out with the boys. We call them the boys. Joe's, they're not really Joe's kids. They're his
step kids.
Yeah. And they haven't been born since we stopped doing the podcast. They're teenagers. But, had some good times. Just scared them a lot. Played some scary video games. All that kind of stuff. Still not recording a podcast. Right at the end of summer, before I was supposed to return to work, at the middle school, I got a call that an agriculture teaching position had opened at the local high school, and I jumped at the opportunity to get that job, thinking that it was my dream job that I'd always wanted my whole life. I've come to find out that maybe it's not.
Yeah, but that's a recent development.
It's been a slippery slope, but it's kind of I almost said peaked, but slippery slope would imply you're going down. So It's valley? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's not necessarily great, but it's a pretty good job. But it made things more difficult, became more time consuming, making the likelihood of us doing a podcast smaller. And also, I started a master's program. So I've been doing college online and stuff. So more of my time has been wrapped up in that, as well as farming. Even more recently, though, Joe has had a pretty major development, and why don't we talk about that?
Sure. Give me 1 minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I can go ahead and talk.
Well, yeah, because you can open a refrigerator and talk at the same time.
So,
this is the contents of Joe's refrigerator. Why does he have so much?
I got
So many
lots of
condiments.
bread. Lots of bread.
Lots of condiments. So many condiments.
So many breads.
Lots of types of pickles. Large amounts of cheese.
Oh yeah.
And bread and juices and bread and tortillas.
Long Island iced tea.
And Long Island iced tea.
All right.
And all that stuff that is still at the top of his refrigerator.
Which one's the guest seat?
If you can tell us exactly how many of those things were still on top of Joe's refrigerator, the last video we recorded in this kitchen, you will win a prize of a jar of pickles.
There you go. Where's the guest? Is the couch the guest seat?
Yeah. So live from Studio B. This is where normally we keep Lincoln. It's actually just the laundry room. And Joe hasn't done laundry lately.
Oh, I didn't pick it all up.
Well, you know. Anyway, this is a continuation where Joe is going to tell us all about the changes in his life that have occurred in the 9 months since we've recorded anything.
Well, they've been pretty actually pretty significant.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I used to work in finance, more specifically title loans, and just after 2.5 years, it just didn't feel like it was going anywhere. So we get on Indeed.com. Shout out Indeed.
Indeed.
Send us hamburgers or French fries. I mean, something.
I think you're thinking of Burger King, which was our other sponsor.
Oh, yeah, give me a Whopper. I need Whoppers. Anyway, so I go on Indeed.
Totally convincing sip.
They send me an email reply, almost 2 days later. And, my background is mostly management and yada yada. And retail. And so, that's good. So I was waiting to hear back from them, and they got back to me, and they said, we want to set up a phone interview. So I said okay, and it was set up for a day off, at 11 a.m. I think it was, and I was off that day. And
this was roughly about what, November?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was off that day, and me and the girlfriend were going to go do something with the kids, and I just suddenly remembered. I was like, oh yeah, I got a phone interview at 11. Give me a second. So they called me, and I answered the phone and did the interview, and I liked what they had to say. They were willing to pay me double what I was making already, on top of some bonus incentives every quarter. So I was like, it's retail, and I never thought I'd go back, but there I am. I've been there for about a month and a half now. It's tough. It's hard. I have experience with Toys R Us, Office Max, Cons, Target. So it's a little different, but they pay very well. So if you're looking for a management position, I don't know, at least in Tennessee, Big Lots is where it's at.
Yeah.
But anyway, the retail schedule is very demanding, and it changes constantly. It isn't constant at all, at all. And just makes it hard to schedule things.
Yeah, I mean, and keep in mind too that like as like my personal schedule got a little bit tighter, Joe's was basically the same, but we still hung out on sort of the same schedule, but we didn't actually, like when we were together, we chose to spend that time like goofing off, doing urban exploration. So the podcast kind of, I guess, took the back seat, intentionally or not. And we had planned on getting back into it, but then Joe's schedule changed to the point where now we don't even really have all that much time to hang out, period. I mean, this is, like, tonight is a rare occasion, and it happened to fall on our anniversary, which we're really grateful for. We had been planning on maybe doing something to celebrate this anyway. So thanks for watching, if you are, and sharing this moment with us. You have anything to say on top of that, Joe?
No, I'm hoping maybe we can do some more things, but it might just take more time.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not going to be so likely that we'll be doing podcast ever again. We're hoping maybe videos will come up from time to time, and also maybe I guess podcast like we might actually do some of the live streaming of video games that we had talked about. Yeah. And also I would like to see our comics come back. Sir Surf. Yeah. And I had a couple others in development that never actually saw the light of day. So something like that would probably I don't want to make any promises, but you might be able to expect to see some more stuff popping up. We also have a couple of videos that we recorded in the past that haven't seen the light of day, including a lost episode of Media Overload that was actually recorded the same night as our actual episode 13 that turned into quite a train wreck. At least in my book. Joe thought it was perfect the way it was. I want to, before I get too far into this story, another contest for those of you listening. I'm going to zoom in. Joe, you just look. Okay, pause the video right here. If you can tell me what has changed about Joe's face since the last thing we recorded, you will win a used vacuum cleaner.
It's a good one. I've had it for many years.
Okay, so at this point, you should have had, if you pause the video, you should have had plenty of time to think about it. So I'm going to go ahead and give away the answer. Not sure how I'm going to know whether or not you paused the video or just waited until I gave you the answer, but Joe busted his face. He has a scar.
You could find out what time of the video you showed it.
Yeah, no one cares. I'm not going to give away your vacuum.
Yeah, I need it. My house is dirty.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, Joe, tell them how you busted your face.
Actually,
why don't we go to the scene, ground zero.
Okay. Yeah, right. So, I was sitting in this couch over here. This is my couch.
In the couch?
In the couch. On the couch.
On the couch, yeah.
I was sitting here, and I got up, and I walked towards the kitchen. And as I walked towards the kitchen, I get here, and I go, ooh, I feel a little funny. Next thing I know, I'm here.
And his face met the floor. He busted it up. He got a huge gash on his head that
broke
he was
my
not
nose.
Concerned about. His nose was crooked. He busted his lip. He was in bad shape. He looked like he got hit by a train.
It was bad.
And he wasn't very concerned about it, actually. Joe was like, "Oh no, it's fine. I'm just I'm gonna go sleep. Go to work tomorrow." I was like, "Joe, I think you need stitches." And it turns out he did. He did need stitches. He got stitches. It healed. His nose was not crooked. It got set back in place. And he does not look much worse than he already looked before.
I just look like I've been to war now.
Yeah, you look like Frankenstein. It's Monster. Frankenstein's Monster. Sorry, literature fans. I know that Frankenstein was the doctor and the monster was not Frankenstein. Joe is using... Oh my god. Dumbass. Well, that was Joe's lightsaber that he bought. Joe has a habit of buying Star Wars related toys and then never using them. Yeah. And breaking them the second he picks them up. Joe's food is still on the stairs, as well as you might see a few lights there. Those are what we use for urban exploration. This is the room. I don't know that we ever used this room on Media Overload. I think the only thing this room ever had significance of is that I hid in here when I scared you that time. Yeah. And you didn't actually see it.
The idea of this room was to be a museum.
Yes, this will be our museum one day, where we will hang up things that we found on our urban exploration, like this thing, where this is actually a thing like where if you look through these little holes, you might be, oh shit, Joe, I think you can see them.
Can you see it through the camera?
Wait, hold on. I'm going to let y'all see this for a second. Let me make sure I turn it the right way. These are like old from like the 80s. Oh, yeah. See those people? We don't know who those are, but we found these. And if you know these women from the 80s, you can tell from their big hair. Oh, that's so cool. You can see it. Oh, there's Joe. He's descending the stairs. Yeah, we found that. That thing's pretty cool. We found all these wicked cool Garbage Pail Kids cards, like all the classics, like Amelia Earhart and Crystal Gale, and Scalped Ralph, who's more than scalped. His whole fucking skull is showing. Jesus. These were for kids? Anyway, those are pretty nifty. Those might be worth like a couple bucks. What the fuck?
Hey, Matt.
Joe's under the stairs, just like Harry Potter.
I'm back from the undergrounds.
Oh. And you found? The lightsaber you went in with.
Yep.
God. Here is a chair and the table that Joe and I used in the recording of our 7th episode, our News Hour episode, never to return to the Media Overload studio ever. So yeah, it's in here in the museum. Also some bowling balls that we found, you can see in the closet.
That's our most recent acquisition.
Along with a bunch of toys,
and
which we did not find. Those were purchased. We have, what is this? Old medicine cabinet door.
For some reason.
Oh, it's cool. It has first aid instructions, like old first aid instructions. So yeah, some cool stuff. Probably a few things that we shouldn't have. You just saw them. I'm not going to call attention to them. Some photos. Oh, those are Joe. Those are just family. Oh, so I was going to talk about here. I was going to talk a little bit about the Lost episode 13 that we are planning on releasing. Joe had an idea to do a crossover episode with his other YouTube project, a video game channel called With Reckless Abandon, and Gary from that channel was featured in one of our episodes of Media Overload. You may remember that. Him and Joe talked about Brussels sprout salad for quite some time.
It was surprisingly delicious.
Yes, we heard all about it for way too long. And anyway, so we were recording it, and not a whole lot was happening. It was cool. It was a nice setup. You'll see it, because like I said, we are going to release it. Just know that I was trying really hard to stay on topic. Joe and the guys, not so much. If you know from Media Overload, we tend to get off topic sometimes, and we have fun with it. But I'm usually the person who has to bring it back in. It was not going very well, and I got mad and stormed out of the studio. So, yeah, you'll see it. Like I said, we are going to release it as a Lost episode to kind of go along with this big anniversary, and to compensate for the lack of content that we've had in the last few months. So, what else do we want to talk about, Joe? Do we have anything else? I
don't know,
lots changed, but so much has stayed the same.
It has.
I
kind of feel like we've covered...
we still got the Burger King crown. If you can tell me where this made its first appearance, you will win a Burger King cardboard crown.
There you go. From the studio.
We'll sign it. We'll sign it.
Yeah, we'll sign it.
I'll sign it. Joe will sign it. Lincoln Buck will sign it. Superfan Jeremy on his lawnmower will sign it.
I'll jizz on it.
Lincoln Buck, I said Lincoln Buck would sign it. Leica will put her paw print. Leica's still alive, by the way. She just turned a year old 2 weeks ago. Hey, dogs die, Joe. Joe made a face, but I should clarify, my dog is still alive. What else?
I don't know. I think that's about it, man.
I think that's about it too. Like I said, I think we're gonna try to have more content. We're going to maybe not do podcasts. If you want to hear podcasts again, let us know. I mean, how have you been without media overload? Have you been able to survive? Most likely, right? Joe, have they survived?
Yes.
So they don't need us?
I mean, you can survive, but it's not nearly as much fun.
Well, I agree. Life's a little more fun with media overload in your life. So, hey, here's to a year. Right, Joe? We're back, sort of. We're going to be making videos. We're going to be having time of our lives, and we want you along for the ride. So go back, watch all the old videos, and enjoy them. Joe and I have been doing that. Actually, if we have just a couple minutes, we'll show you. That's how we've been spending our anniversary, watching some of the classic media overload stuff. And that literally just popped up when I came in the room,
Go ahead and
blocking it.
Turn that controller on. Hold down that guide, bud. And then just left or right on the... There you go.
Yeah, so we've been going through these. Joe got some new controller.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of control. I love it. Love it.
Anyway, without further ado, I'm Matt.
And I am Joe. And this is
Matt
and Joe's Media Overload.